Hello everyone, and welcome to the Nina Williams In-Depth series. I'm your host, Friendly Tree, and today I want to talk to you about Nina's move, Wipe the Floor. This one has a bit of a reputation, which is good, isn't it? Alright, let's just make sure the settings are right. I'm pretty sure everything is good to go. Yep. And let's get straight into it. So, Wipe the Floor. Why is it called Wipe the Floor? There's often a pretty good reason for this. Where in the move list is it? There it is. Wipe the Floor, number 77. So you can see it's called Wipe the Floor in the move list. People often abbreviate it to WTF for obvious reasons, as that's a pretty popular initialism around the world. And the input is down, forward 4. Now you'll see the input, it's a white arrow followed by a filled arrow followed by a not filled arrow. If I press, what's X do that? You can see it's press and hold down. So what it essentially means is you press the down and then you hold the down forward while you press the 4, the attack button. So that move is going to look like this. Alright. Now because it says press then hold, you can do it as almost a quarter circle forward motion from standing. But this move actually has a second input if you want to do full crouch down forward. So there are two ways you can input this move. You can do it from standing, or you can do it from crouching. If you look at the startup frames, regardless, you'll see it says startup frame 20 and from 20 to 24. So what this means is the move has 4 active frames, but the fastest can come out is 20 frames. Now you might be wondering, is there a difference between doing it standing or crouching? And this is where a lot of people get confused. So to get into it from standing, doing that motion, you're technically doing Nina's crouch dash motion and doing it at the end of a crouch dash, which actually adds an extra 6 frames to the input. So, well, an extra 5 frames to the input, but you've got a double input to do. So it's 6 frames to the input because of the crouch dash. And this means that people are often reacting to the crouch dash motion, which you can do other moves from as well. So it's 26 frames from standing, but the move itself is 20 frames. And it's about the recognizable animation of the move and what people can identify. And you can do that beginning, which is what people try and react to before the actual input comes out, before you do the attack. Now from crouching, well, you can do it in exactly 20 frames. Because you press, it's just a single input while you're crouching. Oh. So from standing, that's 26 frame startup. From crouching, it's 20 frame startup. And both of them have 4 active frames. You can see that it knocks down on hit, and that does give free follow-ups, such as a forward 3, crouch cancel stomp, or a crouch cancel STFU, if you're fast enough, but the timing is quite tight. Well, I'm not doing it well. There we go. So you can get a lot of damage from this, from knockdown, but of course the catch here is negative 37 on block. Okay, so that's pretty risky. The other thing I need to point out is it has pretty legit high crush, because it goes into crouch stance from its first active frame. So you're technically in a crouching state throughout the entirety of this move. So it will go under highs. It'll properly go under highs, not evade, crush. So that's another good property of it. Range wise, it unfortunately doesn't have as much range as it probably looks. So if I'm at this range here, you look at the move, and it'll work. Good. I thought it was a little bit less. But if I'd say about the 2.6 mark is about where I'd want to be doing it. If I'm at 2.7, you're sort of on the tip there. Yeah. So I'd say about the 2.6 mark is where you want to do it. Okay. As well as that, we want to record tracking. So if I set it up like that, it looks, because she does a like a spin, a wiping motion, you'd think perhaps it has pretty good tracking. And if I sidestep to the left, I can avoid it completely. But if I sidestep to the right, man, I tested it before and I could not sidestep to the left. Actually, I couldn't. Anyway, so it's definitely not as good as you'd think. You can sidewalk it either direction. Sorry, that's what I was meaning. You can't sidestep it either way, but you can sidewalk it either direction if you got the timing right. And even worse is it leaves Nina back turned. Oh. At least you can do that. Yeah. So it's pretty linear compared to what the animation looks like, with it being sidewalkable in both directions. So you're not really using this move to catch steppers. Plus, it's very unsafe on block. It's her most unsafe move on block. So you can do anything to punish it, really. That being a very easy option. Probably even do. Oh. Yeah. So it's very unsafe on block at minus 37. And not many characters have a move so unsafe on block. So it's a very high risk move. Okay, so we've talked about the... Did we talk about the damage? So 20 damage. The other thing is counter hit properties. So it is a counter hit launcher in Tekken 7. And you can get a full combo quite easily. So for example... Yeah. Very, very easy. Lots of options, you got heaps of time to confirm. Yeah. And a lot of damage. Oh. It's up to you what route you want to do. I generally like the down 2-3 route. But if you want an easy confirm, you can always just do something like down 4-1, but you're dropping a lot of damage, as you can see there, 63, yeah. So, knockdown on normal hit with a guaranteed follow-up, counter hit launcher, but negative 37 on block. 20 damage on normal hit. The range isn't great, but it will catch someone backdashing at range 1. Or it'll close to catch people, depends on the timing. Depends on their backdash too, I suppose. And it's easily sidewalkable in either direction, so it's not really used for catching movement, unless they're just sidestepping, I suppose. The next thing I want to talk about this move and the properties is, I guess, a comparison to Snake Edge. So, a lot of people refer to this as Nina's Snake Edge, and I don't think that's quite accurate. But I guess it depends what you consider a Snake Edge. So, for example, Lily's down back 4 has always been known as a Snake Edge. Brian's down forward 3 is literally called Snake Edge, so that's definitely a Snake Edge. And what properties do those moves share? So they're both about 30 frame startup. I think Brian's is 29 and Lily's is 30 frame, something like that. And they're both normal hit launchers, and they both catch steppers pretty well to my knowledge. So they're a lot slower than Nina's Wipe the Floor, and they're both normal hit launchers that track a bit better. And they cannot be done from a full crouch, they can only be done from a standing position. So yeah, I know Lily's hasn't always been a normal hit launcher and it's still been considered a Snake Edge, and that's once again where I'm saying it depends what properties you attribute to a Snake Edge. So depending on how you explain it, how you want to define a Snake Edge, you could consider Nina's one, but it doesn't really share the properties of any other Snake Edge. It just has a similar animation, I suppose. Anyway, I'll go into how I think you should use this move next. So how do we apply Wipe the Floor into our game plan? It's clearly a valuable low for Nina, but at the same time it's very risky. At negative 37 on block and sidewalkable in both directions, the risk reward is pretty skewed at times, and not in Nina's favour, unfortunately. You can use it as a 50-50 tool straight off the bat, because doing that compared to doing something like that, or even that, I mean 26 frame up forward 1 and 26 frame from standing, or 20 frame from there, 18 frame there, you've got the valid timing for a 50-50 tool there, don't you? But once again, it's so high risk, and if you compare it to something like Anna's full crouch game, it's not as rewarding, not nearly as rewarding. I personally think it's better to be used kind of like an E-slide. So obviously it doesn't have the range of an E-slide, and you've got to be a lot closer, so it doesn't work as well. But you're doing it from a crouch dash, and you can use this crouch dash motion to see how the opponent reacts with different timings and different lower risk moves. So for example, what I'm meaning is, while the move is 20 frames started from crouching, I've said it's 26 from standing, but that's because of the crouch dash motion. So the first 6 frames, which is what people are often reacting to with this move, or it's the tell at the beginning which makes them block low for a lot of people, you see how they react to that. Similar to how an E-slide, you see that little shake, or just even the crouching, and different people will either stand and block or crouch and block. It's a similar sort of thing. So you can use that and just use different tools that are lower risk to get the timing and get a feel. Likewise, you could use different lows at different times. You could, for example, do that delay, and if they're not blocking, you can start changing it to wipe the floor. But obviously, in this case, it's more threatening if they're reacting to that and ducking, because you could do things like that, or that, which is pretty much the same speed from a crouch dash. So, I mean, it's still high risk, high reward, but it's a method that you can get the timing of an opponent and figure out how to get, pretty much how to cash in for a huge reward. And sometimes it can be a case of pestering people with wipe the floors until they start ducking in that scenario, but obviously throwing out such a high risk thing off the bat is not very smart. It's a volatile game plan, which can be effective, just isn't as rewarding as other characters. So I'd sooner do things like that. I know they can duck and launch it, but mixing up between that and that, it's kind of hard for them to react and punish. And I mean, even that. But once you know that you're not going to be blocking that, you can change it to a knockdown, more rewarding. And that's what I should point out. When I first a while after I joined the Melbourne Tekken community, I was talking to some players about wipe the floor, or about my game plan in general, and they said that they didn't think I used enough threatening lows. And if you watch some other Nina players, some higher level Nina players too, they do use wipe the floor a lot. And when you think about it, it's her only knockdown low. It's a counter hit on launch. I mean, she's got 3 counter hit low launches. That one, but wipe the floor, side step 4, and down 3-2. But it's one that really, it's a move that everyone knows and keeps people on their toes, because, I mean, it's a good amount of damage, isn't it? Not compared to other lows that other characters have, but and the risk kind of skews it a lot, but it's a way to shift momentum. Another way you can use it, of course, is because of the crouching. So because it crouches from frame 1 active, you can go under highs. You legitimately go under highs. And of course, if they're pressing buttons, if they're doing jabs or highs to retaliate or something like that, you get a counter hit launch. So you can use it on not only block pattern movement that you're getting with the E-slide, but challenging attack pattern movements too. So I think it is a real read and timing based move, just like an E-slide. Alright, that's my huge comparison to E-slide over. The next thing I want to talk about is how you can use it for Oki. So yeah, we've got Nina on quick roll right, we've got block off, good. If Nina's got a couple of different Oki situations where you can get the cross up quarter circle forward 4-2. In those situations, that is if they tick to the left. If we've got them ticking to the right, you'll know it won't work. So for example, it doesn't cross up at all. But what you can do if they tick to the right is a wipe the floor. And if you get that right, you might have to do a micro dash after the down 4. I can't remember. I don't use this very often. When I do, I drop it. See? Hold up. realign before we keep going. Okay, well if you get the timing right, you can make it this a normal hit launcher. So it's a pretty legit mix, so it means not only do they have to do the movement to counter the quarter circle forward 4-2 or whatever else you're going to do, they've also got a 50-50 mix up to guess on the Oki. Why'd I do that? Dum, dum, dum. Okay, this is just muscle memory now, sorry guys. I find that very tight to connect to. You do like a little micro dash to get that to link. But either way, you get the idea of the fact that you can use it for Oki, and you can alter the risk reward in the situation by getting a bit more reward. Alright. Also, the last thing I'll talk about is, let's go to a different stage. This is the very last thing I'm going to mention with Wipe the Floor, although I'm sure there's plenty more things to talk about. It's an interesting move, isn't it? And hopefully this has given you guys a bit more insight into the move instead of thinking it's, lol, cheap snake edge. I think that's a pretty good way to trigger me, is when people call it a snake edge. Because I'm just like, man, you can't use it like a snake edge. And it's a lot faster. Okay, so if we do this and... Well, first off, we'll just have wake up backward. So I talked about how if you use it, you can get things like a forward 3 or STFU or things like that. Or on the BS, you can even get it like a blonde bomber while standing 1+2 or a crouch cancel forward 1+2. But the other one I mentioned was the stomp. And shout outs to Mortz, the Nina main, competitive Nina player. Because he's the one that mentioned this a couple of times in the Discord, brought to my attention. The reason why you should use this on this stage is because if they try and spring kick for any reason, yeah. So you can see why it's suddenly you've got a way of it being a normal hit launcher, depending on what they do there. So that's it. That's everything I'm going to go through with Nina's Wipe the Floor. On to the summary. In conclusion, Nina's Wipe the Floor input is down, down forward +4, or full crouch down forward +4, is a 20 frame from crouch, 26 frame from standing low that catches stepping in both directions but loses to side walking in both directions. Depending on the character's side step, it can of course be better or worse. It deals 20 damage on normal hit, it knocks down a normal hit giving a guaranteed follow-up, and counter hit launches. It's -37 on block, so it's very risky, and the range, I'd say the range to use it, the furthest range would be about range 2.6. I wouldn't go beyond there just because a back walk, holding back could probably make it whiff very easily beyond there. Because of the fast frames or the variation in frames, part of that is due to the crouch dash that you have to perform from standing, and that is what people are often reacting to. Meaning you can use this situation, as well as the full crouch situation, to get a read on what the opponent is going to do, what their kind of defensive patterns are. As it goes into crouch stance from frame 1, you can use it to properly crush high moves. And pretty much I think it's a move that should be used once you've got a good read on the opponent's timing and patterns, both defensive and offensive, which makes it very similar to something like an E-slide in my opinion, opposed to a snake edge. It can knock down and give guaranteed follow-ups, but also after certain knockdowns it can be used for Oki to cross up. You can also use it just as a plain 50-50 in some situations, and as I demonstrated, depending on what the opponent's doing, if they try and wake up with a spring kick, you can use the guaranteed follow-ups to get a floor break if you want to. That's everything I've covered with Nina's Wipe the Floor, WTF, full crouch down forward 4 or down forward 4. How do you guys use this move? Do you think it's overused? Do you think it's underused? Is there anything I've missed out here? I didn't really talk about things like, well, That's why I didn't talk about it. Like cancelling it from sidestep 1, because I think that's just a part of using it as a 50-50. Anyway, I hope you guys have liked this video. Please like and subscribe, comment below with anything, and share the knowledge. Thank you everyone, I'll catch you next time.
You win.
What's done is done.